Vikas Bhava, I think we should start now. So, JB Mall, my name is Rahul Pamar. I am a Bluebird Mentorship Program Coordinator. So, I would like to welcome you all in our third session of Bluebird Foreign Education and Career Services Career Series. So, today we have a Vikas Bagde. He is our alumni of Nalanda Academy. So Vikas Bagde is studied in TISS Guwahati. He has completed his master's in ecology and environment and sustainability development. Now he is pursuing his PhD in mobility and innovation and narratives. So Vikas, you can start now.
Hi, thank you all for the introduction and thanks for having me. Yeah, so to begin with, so I'd just like to give you okay, which do you speak in English or Hindi or what is
Both you आप दोनों में बात कर सकते हैं, English and Hindi.
Okay, I mean, but okay, that's a tough question. Okay, I'll try to speak in both the languages and yeah. So I would like to give a background that what I'm doing and how I came, so you'll get an idea that how the PhD journey is. Especially, I'll be focusing more on the application process and the time it takes. So at the moment, I'm doing PhD at the University of Amsterdam in the department called Geography and Urban Planning, and I'm working on the my research topic is mobility innovations and the narrative. So basically, I'm trying to understand what are the different mobility options and which are like a more sustainable one, and what are the way that we should be taking towards the innovation and the approaches, what kind of approach that we should be taking. So that's for the some other time, but I would like to more focus on that how this journey has been. So since I was very particular about the location where I want to do my PhD, so I wanted to do it in Europe. So I haven't done much research on other part of the world, but still, if you want to pursue or do the PhD, then there are broadly two categories that I would like to describe it in. So one category would be, say, for example, US, UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada. So this part of the world where application process is, I would say. Oh, thank you.
इको कर रहा है विकास भाई, थोड़ा सा तो कुछ हो सके एडजस्ट कर सकते हैं तो.
I'm not so अभी आ रहा है
आवाज आ रहा है, थोड़ा सा
इको तो करेगा दोस्त, क्योंकि let me try opening this door.
ओके.
अभी ठीक है यार, अभी भी इको कर रहा है.
ये आप अगर हेडफोन लगाएंगे तो मैं भी शायद यू विल बी योर वॉइस विल बी मोर क्लियर,
क्योंकि ये हमारा जो है ये मीटिंग रूम है जो कि थोड़ा छोटा है.
ओके.
अभी आ रहा है क्या? अभी इको हो रहा है?
नहीं, अभी क्लियर है.
एक मिनट रुको, फिर मैं दरवाजा बंद कर लेता हूं. हाँ, होपफुली अभी सुनाई दे रहा है. तो हम थे इसको क्या कर सकते हैं हम, दो ब्रॉडर कैटेगरीज में हम इसको मतलब जहाँ तक मेरी अंडरस्टैंडिंग है, इसको हम दो कैटेगरीज में डिवाइड कर सकते हैं. सो एक एप्लीकेशन जो है वो यूएस, यूके, कनाडा, ऑस्ट्रेलिया, न्यूजीलैंड यहाँ का एप्लीकेशन ये है. तो आमतौर पे क्या होता है ना, यहाँ के यूनिवर्सिटीज का एडमिशन प्रोसेस थोड़ा अलग होता है. सो इट्स मोर लाइक मास्टर्स एप्लीकेशन. So where you have the centralized admission process where you just apply and you get through depending on your qualification and all. And after you get selected, उसके बाद जो होता है आपको गाइड मिलता है, रिसर्च टॉपिक आप गाइड के साथ बैठ के डिसाइड करते हो ना. तो ये होगा एक. सो इसमें आमतौर पे डेडलाइन होता है, और एक एप्लीकेशन का फिक्स टाइम पीरियड होता है. लेकिन यूरोप की अगर हम बात करें तो आमतौर पे, सो जरूरी नहीं कि हर जगह सेम प्रोसेस हो, देयर मे बी सम वेरिएशंस. लेकिन यूरोप की अगर हम बात करते हैं आमतौर पे, तो यहाँ पे क्या होता है, एक रोलिंग एडमिशन होता है. सो आपको यहाँ पे एक वो नहीं होता है, मतलब एक डेडलाइन नहीं होता है. तो आपको थ्रू आउट द ईयर एडमिशन कर सकते हैं. और इसमें क्या होता है, यूरोप में दो कैटेगरीज होते हैं. तो एक जो होता है वो होता है फंडेड पोजीशंस होता है, जो कि यूनिवर्सिटी, जैसे कि हम कह सकते हैं कि यूनिवर्सिटी का जो पोजीशन होता है, जैसे कोई प्रोजेक्ट होता है, कोई सुपरवाइजर, कोई फैकल्टी को ग्रांट मिलता है, देन दे हायर सम पोजीशन PhDs टू डू द रिसर्च. तो ये इसको कहते हैं फंडेड पोजीशंस. तो इसके लिए क्या होता है, इनका एडवर्टाइजमेंट निकलता है. तो इसका एडवर्टाइजमेंट आएगा, फिर आपको, अगर आपका आप क्वालिफाइड हो उस पोजीशन के लिए, तो आप अप्लाई कर सकते हैं. और फिर बहुत सारे और लोग अप्लाई करेंगे, फिर उसमें से जो भी सुटेबल कैंडिडेट है उसको रिक्रूट करेंगे. तो इस केस में क्या होता है कि आपको पूरा पैसा मिलता है. सो बेसिकली उस केस में यू आर एन एम्प्लॉय ऑफ एन यूनिवर्सिटी. सो आप एक एम्प्लॉय की तरह, आपको अच्छा सैलरी मिलता है और सारा एम्प्लॉय बेनिफिट्स होता है, वो सब मिलता है. दूसरा होता है जिसको ये लोग कहते हैं एक्सटर्नल PhD. तो एक्सटर्नल PhD में दो तीन कैटेगरी होता है, जैसे स्कॉलरशिप हो गया, सेल्फ फंडेड हो गया, तो डिपेंड करता है. तो बेसिकली इसका रिसर्च को जो भी जितना भी खर्चा लगेगा वो सब आपको खुद का मैनेज करना है. तो आप कैसे भी करो, फिर फंडिंग करो या फिर जो भी करो. तो तो इसमें और एक बात होती है कि हाँ, तो ये तो हो गए ब्रॉड की किस टाइप के PhDs होते हैं, किस टाइप के ये होते हैं. उसके बाद है कि कैसे, मतलब एप्लीकेशन प्रोसेस क्या होती है. तो ये जो होता है, मतलब जो एक तो होता है कि जो फंडेड पोजीशन वाला जो होता है, उसमें क्या होती है, वो हर यूनिवर्सिटी का अपना क्राइटेरिया होता है. लेकिन आमतौर पे क्या चाहिए होता है, वो आपको मांगते हैं कि आपका एक तो एकेडमिक बैकग्राउंड होना चाहिए, और दूसरा कि आपका प्रूवन रिसर्च कैपेबिलिटी होना चाहिए. जैसे कि आपका कोई रिसर्च वर्क हो, जैसे कि मास्टर्स थीसिस हो गया, या फिर कोई पब्लिश्ड पेपर हो गया, है ना. तो राइटिंग सैंपल मांगते हैं. सो इस और उसके बाद आपको कुछ तो बहुत बार ये लोग, और आपको क्या होता है कि SOP वगैरह मांगते हैं ये लोग की, और बेसिकली लेटर ऑफ मोटिवेशन होता है, और एक होता है कि एक और डॉक्यूमेंट मांगते हैं, जिसमें वो आपको बताना होता है कि हाउ आर यू सुटेबल फॉर दिस पोजीशन. आपको कैसा वो, लाइक जो भी डिपार्टमेंट है, जो भी रिसर्च है, हाउ यू गोना कंट्रीब्यूट टू द डिपार्टमेंट और दैट पर्टिकुलर रिसर्च प्रोजेक्ट. और जो PhD पोजीशन होता है, जो भी जो एक्सटर्नल पोजीशन जो होता है, जो जिसमें हम स्कॉलरशिप के थ्रू आते हैं या फिर अपना पैसा लेके आते हैं, तो उसका क्या होता है कि आपको बेसिकली प्रोफेसर को अप्रोच करना पड़ता है. हाँ, और फिर तो इसमें क्या होता है कि अपना प्रोजेक्ट खुद डिजाइन करना होता है. तो यू हैव द लाइक लाइक ज़्यादा रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी होता है आपके ऊपर, क्योंकि आपको अपना सारा रिसर्च खुद डिजाइन करना है और खुद कंडक्ट करना है. क्योंकि यहाँ पे क्या होता है, PhD को दे डोंट कंसिडर एज अ स्टूडेंट, सो दे कंसिडर इट एज यू एज एन एम्प्लॉय और कलीग. सो उसमें क्या होता है कि आप मतलब बहुत ज़्यादा डिपेंडेंट नहीं हो सकते. सो योर सुपरवाइजर आर मोस्टली like they just give you feedback, so they don't work for you, they don't help. I mean, they of course they do, बट वो आपको क्वेश्चंस नहीं देंगे, रिसर्च क्वेश्चन नहीं देंगे, वो आपका प्रोजेक्ट डिजाइन नहीं करेंगे आपके लिए. आपको खुद करना है सब, आपका प्रोजेक्ट खुद डिजाइन करना है. आपका पूरा जो प्रोसेस होता है वो खुद को, मतलब वो खुद से होता है, सेल्फ मोटिवेटेड होता है, खुद से करना होता है. और हाँ, दूसरा, हाँ, वो एप्लीकेशन स्कॉलरशिप, जो जो एक्सटर्नल फंडेड का एप्लीकेशन जो होता है, वो थोड़ा सा लॉन्ग टाइम कंज्यूमिंग होता है. उसमें क्या होता है कि आमतौर पे आपको तो सबसे पहले जो भी जिस सब्जेक्ट में, तो ये आपको पहले डिसाइड करना होता है, यूरोप की बात करूँ मैं स्पेशली, कि आपको किस टॉपिक पे काम करना है, जैसे कि जो भी आपका रिसर्च टॉपिक हो। तो और सब इसके लिए सबसे ज़रूरी होता है कि आपके पास एटलीस्ट प्रपोजल हो, जिसमें कि आप पुट करो कि मतलब दिखा सको कि इस टाइप का मेरा प्रोजेक्ट है, और इसका ये सिग्निफिकेंस है, और मैं इस हिसाब से कर सकता हूँ। सो यू यू हैव टू प्रेजेंट एन एंटायर प्रपोजल। उसके सैंपल भी मिल जाएंगे आपको। और हर यूनिवर्सिटी का अपना, जरूरी नहीं है एक स्टैंडर्ड सैंपल भी बना ले आप। क्योंकि आपको क्या करना है बेसिकली, उसके थ्रू आपको दिखाना है कि आप कितने सीरियस हैं और आप कर सकते हैं। मतलब जो जो भी प्रपोजल आप लिखेंगे तो उसमें बेसिकली एक ये होता है, एक इंट्रोडक्टरी पार्ट ही होता है, जिसमें आपको सब लिखना होता है। रिसर्च, आपका लिटरेचर रिव्यू रिव्यू रहेगा, लिटरेचर गैप दिखाना पड़ता है, और फिर रिसर्च क्वेश्चंस और मेथोडोलॉजी। तो उससे क्या होता है कि आपका जो जिस भी सुपरवाइजर हो, जिसको भी आप अप्रोच करें, तो उसको एक आइडिया है कि आपको रिसर्च समझ आती है और आप कर सकते हैं। तो एक बार आपके पास, तो प्रोसेस क्या होता है कि आमतौर पे कि ये जो जो प्रोफेसर्स होते हैं, इनको हमें अप्रोच करना होता है कि हमारा इस टाइप का रिसर्च हम करना चाहते हैं, और आपका जो काम है, सो इट अलाइंस विथ योर वर्क। और उसको फिर वो लोग हम आपके साथ काम करना चाहते हैं, लेकिन अगर उसके पास पोजीशन मतलब वक्त है, तो देन डिपेंडिंग ऑन हाउ इट गोज। सो ये सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट होता है, क्योंकि जो पहला मेल जो होता है, क्योंकि ये जो सुपरवाइजर्स, जो प्रोफेसर्स होते हैं, इनको बहुत सारे, या श्योर, okay, yeah, uh, I'll speak in English as well. Yeah, so you have to write to the supervisors. It's very important to, while writing to the supervisor, that you show seriousness and you are capable to do research. So you have to show your research ability through your proposal and your CV. So you have to reflect. So and the mail you draft. So the important thing while writing to the professor is, first thing is uh, your proposal should be based on scientific methods. It's not like you just put couple of paragraphs and explain the concept. It don't work like that. Because you have to show some sincerity and some research qualities. That's the like only option that you got get to show that you can do the research. Another thing is while drafting the mail, so these professors gets a lot of mails requesting them for the supervision, and so it is important to place your research in line with the work that this the whoever professor you are like approaching. So he will only respond if your work is in line with whatever work he's been doing or he's looking forward to do. If it aligns, then only you'll get the positive responses. So it's while writing, so this is the most because you don't get another chance, and another thing is you don't get to write to multiple supervisors in the same department, because they usually talk. So it is advised not to write to the multiple supervisors from the same department. And once you catch the attention of the professor, then it becomes relatively easier, because they don't have the deadline, so you can get admission in the during any time of the year. So that becomes easier. So that's a broad pathway, or this is the broad but it process, that how your application goes. The important thing here to note, or if you're applying, approaching to professor. What I would say is, whenever it's important to write to the professor to get an idea before you go in, if you're planning to go for a PhD, it's important to get in touch with the professor and try to have at least a meeting before finalizing to go with him, because that's how you get to know the how what kind of work. So sometimes what happens is they try to broaden their horizon of work. So sometimes maybe your past work, what they did may seems like in line with what you want to do, but this professor may not want to continue with the same thing. He may want to do some other work because he also has got his own aspirations for the research and all. So another thing is, so couple of things that you need to keep in mind while applying. So first thing I would say is make sure you have the very good research proposal. Another thing is draft your mail carefully, and it should be. I would recommend it to be like a very personalized whenever you write to the every professor. Many times, what happens is as a student, what we do is we draft one mail, and whenever we send the mail, we just copy the same mail, change the name, and send it. What happens in this is because you are not there to defend yourself. So what you got is your mail, body of the mail, because many times if they don't, if your mail is not good enough, they're not going to open your attachment because they like if you look at their calendar, it's always red. So they really have a little time to go through all the attachment, all the your documentation. So you have to be very strategic while writing the mail, and so that's the important thing is like you draft your mail carefully, and it should be like a customized with every professor. So what I would advise you is take, say, for example, 5 universities because you don't actually, or say, for example, to be on the safer side, take 10, but that means you have to done the 10 mails, and it's not an easy process. And then you while you write the mail, you make sure to have your research proposal, your CV, and your work sample if any published work, uh, especially the scientific writing. So, for example, your master's thesis. But I would say if you're attaching the master's thesis, I would advise you to make a summary of master's thesis because no one has the time to go through your 70, 80 pages of the document. So it's good to make a good summary, get it made with from the guidance from someone, because that's what he's going to read. No one is going to read the in your master's thesis. So make sure to make a summary and put the link to their upload it somewhere and just to put the link to the master's thesis. So you need to have the 3 documents, and first fourth is your mail. Your mail should be like a customize what you have to do in the mail. What I mean by customization is you see what kind of work this professor is doing, and how your work will be relevant or useful for him. Uh, and then you make sure to point out at least to one or two of his writings, maybe a paper, maybe a book, and say, this one particular book or particular paper or this particular project like intrigued me, and I think I can add to this in this project in this way or that way. You make some points and say this way it will help me, as well as it will do the value addition to your work as well. So you have to show them like you're not only looking to get benefited, but also the supervisor can be benefited from your work experience or your given particular project. uh, yeah, that's a broad process of application. And what I'll do is I'll share some sample of research proposal with Rahul, and Rahul can share with you guys. And if you got any questions, I can answer questions, couple of questions.
Because we also want to know that how you prepared and how you go to this position, what was your struggles and journey. Could you explain? So it will be helpful for our students to get motivated. Yes.
Okay, so to begin with my research top. So okay, how I prepared. So yeah, another thing is English language. Oh, sorry, I missed out on that one. So okay, so first thing, how I prepared. It varies on the individual and what kind of research topic you're doing research on. So, for example, my research topic is different. So I took at least like a year and a half to prepare my research proposal. So that does not mean that everyone is going to need that one, because I had to really place myself into the debate and literature, and I tried to understand different uh, uh, discussions from the different field, because mine one is the multidisciplinary and I don't have the urban planning background, but my PhD is in the urban planning. So I had to really uh, uh, put in this framework of urban planning. So it took me a while to do research, because it also what it also does is, so for example, yeah, and then the English language. Yeah, so my that the uh, so what I did is I made at least like a 10 draft of the research proposal, and what I tried to do is what I did. So what I did is I built on my master's thesis basically. So I had this work to show, so that gave the credibility to my research, my research proposal, that I know the field, and then I can do the research because I showed the research, and then yeah. So I would say the you spend significant amount of time on your research proposal, but that don't have to be very. I mean, like just like me, because I was also working at the same time. But it took me quite a while to complete my proposal. And another thing is, usually I realize this should not happen, but yeah, they insist for a IELTS test. So that's another test that you usually require. So sometimes you can get exemption, but I would recommend you to get uh, mm, IELTS score. uh, it doesn't matter. So I think it depends on the university. For usually for PhD, they require 7 or 6.5. So you need to get the score. So see, my preparation has been quite long. So uh, for IELTS, I would say what I did. I just uh, no, I just did the. I solved. I got this couple of uh, British Council this thing test, and I solved them couple of them. And then there was one particular book that I referred for the writing. It is called Dran Higgins or something. You can get it the PDF copy of that one. Um, and for this is I find this not only useful for the IELTS, but for your overall writing as a whole, because this thing is really he has really explained really well uh, how to write your frame your answers. And I think that's a really book that I referred. But again, so it depends on like I think Nalanda is also having some sort of English classes, so you can also join the classes. uh, but yeah, I would say the referring to the solving, if you get time, at least solve at least 10. So this they have they publish the guide, they call it a guide, IELTS guide, or something like that. And I would recommend you to do at least like a 10 guides, and each uh, I just put the name here. And these 10 guides are like but it has like a four questions, not questions, what is it, four tests. For every section they got the they put, and I would say you try like solve it as a test and don't solve it as a section. So that gives you, because this exam goes like till 3.5 hours, and then you get to write the speaking test. So yeah, I would say practice is the thing. Yeah. Uh, okay. Anything? What else I can add, Rahul? I mean, I'm not. Is there anything
Okay.
I should add?
Okay. Now we can ready to take your questions. So those who have a question, they can raise your hand or type in the chat box. So if you will raise your hand, I will unmute you. Then you can ask your question directly. Now, because by we have a question from Sneha. She is asking, how do you found your study? Means
Uh,
course or university?
how to look for the professor?
Yes.
Ah, that's interesting. Yeah, thanks for the question. That's a nice question. So what there are a couple of options. So first thing is, so to begin with, you need to be very certain that what what is going to be your research topic, because this keep in mind it's not like a master's or bachelor's program. So if you choose your PhD topic or whatever topic you choose, so that means you're gonna do your PhD. I mean, you're gonna spend your 4 years doing the research on the same topic, and your rest of the life you're gonna work on the same thing. So you have to be very careful while selecting your research topic. You can't just go like, if someone is doing this thing, research in this area, so I'll also do. You cannot do that, because you there's like hardly way around it. So if you do PhD in particular thing, you almost become an expert of that field, and if you want to change that particular field of study, then it becomes really difficult for you to change it, because then you have to start over, and then you already like in your 30s, and then it becomes really difficult. So I would say, you have to take your time, consult your mentor, your students, while thinking on your research topic, and then only you make a choice. So once you have your research topic, then you got two options. One is thing, so you're going to work on your research proposal. That means you will have to cite some uh, literature, some work of some people. So first thing, you get to know who are the prominent scholars in the field, and then if you refer to the recent papers, then you know them, and the possibility that then from this reference list or the prominent scholar you can write to them. Another thing is, if you whenever you read the paper that you're going to cite, or you will be citing, so if you go to the reference list, you see these are scholars, and then what you can do, you can go to the academia.edu, or you can go to the Google Scholars, and most of, I mean, not all of them, but most of them has a profile on the research. Uh, sorry, I forgot. What is that? Research, either on the academia or the Google Scholars. So they have the yeah. So they usually have the profile. So what you can do is, from that is how then you can go and check their profile and see kind of work they did and all. That's one option. So you need to be really put work on that to understand who is working, who will be more suitable and all. Another option is, suppose for example, if you're doing something in if your topic is more of a mainstream topic or a traditional topic, for example, women's studies, anthropology and all, so then it becomes relatively easier. So for example, you just go to any of the university page, go to the department and check the faculty they have, and they usually have the list of publications on the website, and projects they are engaged in, involved in, past projects, and the current projects and all. And then that way you can find your supervisors. But if you are doing something like a multidisciplinary thing like me, so then you have a real struggle, not struggle, but it's a real challenge to find the right people. So mm, for example, I'm in the urban geography and working on the mobility, and this falls under social sciences. So when I was looking for the topics, I used to look for the urban planning, and but geography was not my keyword. But after joining, I realized geography could have been my keyword, or social sciences. In many of the universities, they do really good work on the urban planning, but they falls under Department of Social Sciences. Sometimes it can be in so they can have a different name. So you So best way is to yeah. So these are the two options to look for the people in the field. But if you're doing research on a topic, or and if you already worked on your research proposal, then you should know the people in the field, and then from the citations you can just find some good people who is who are working or can be relevant for your research.
Okay. We have one more question from Samir Burman. Sarmeen, you can unmute yourself now and ask your question.
Welcome everyone. Hi, myself Shamir. I am from
Hi, Samir.
Jalpaiguri district of West Bengal. So this is a very nice session. I would like to know whether you could suggest some universities that offer PhD in social science, specific to European Union. So
Your
my research
university,
area,
your
I mean,
university
my
offers
interested area
social
is
sciences,
migration and caste.
migration and caste.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah. Don't call me sir. I'm not sure. So
Yeah,
look
okay.
for that. Yeah. So you can mute yourself, I guess. So your research topic is interesting, and every university usually have the research good research scholars on this one. Migration and caste. So what I would say is, so see, for example, I'll take the example of my university. So for example, in University of Amsterdam, so they do this research on the anthropology as well as urban geography. So now it depends. So for example, if you do it anthropology, so it is more like a ethnographic research. In urban geography, it is more of a, so it depends, like so you have to really look into it. You have to use different keywords for this one, and I cannot particularly recommend you an university, but what I could suggest you is, you can just check their website. So what I did is, another thing is, uh, what I did is, to begin with. So I'm talking about in 2018, not 18, 19, 1920, yeah. So what I did when I started doing research for my for the professor is, I went to the QS ranking. I took the 100 universities, first 100, took out all the universities that I did want to go. For example, I did not wanted to go to US, UK, Canada, and Australia, New Zealand. So I took like cross all of them, and then I got the list of universities in the university which falls in the top 100. And then what I did is, I went through their website, and I saw what through the departments which I thought might be relevant, and then just went through. So, but I cannot, for in your case particularly, there are a lot of work is going on. What I can tell you is, there is this university called Erasmus University, and they have this school called International Institute of Social Sciences. It's in The Hague. They have really good researchers, the scholars who are working on this field, and also you can look for the University of Amsterdam, anthropology and GP. It's called, my department is called GPIO, so geography and urban planning. So they are doing research on this thing. Yeah, but I would also again emphasize on the fact that you don't just write a simple mail to the professor, because if you first mail, you write like a just a, like a not good mail, then you really lose a lot of things. So before writing, I would recommend you to do the research on what area you are working on, what area you want to work on, and have at least a decent proposal, and then only you write to professors. Meanwhile, you can just use the approach that I did. I mean, there are many approaches. You don't have to use what I did. Uh, you can free to do, but that is one of the approach that I use. Go through QS ranking, find out top 100 universities, and then figure out like which country you want to work on. Just you can just read the review, which university is doing good research in a particular domain. Also in QS ranking, they also have the this thing, like a subject-wise ranking. So, for example, if you go to the MIT, so it can be like a top university, like a first, it's the number one university in the overall, but may not be, maybe like 15, 20, 20th number in the social sciences. But there may be some other university which is really good in the social sciences, or maybe in one particular domain. So you can also look for the universities like that through the domain ranking. So I would say that's a good option to go with. And then again, if you know people around, you can just reach out to some of the PhD scholars. Yeah, another thing is what you can do is if before writing to the professor, you write to their students, like who's doing the PhD, and they say, I'm considering this professor for my PhD. I would like to know how this professor is, how his work is, and so can I have a quick meeting with you, and then have a formal meeting, ask hundreds of questions to this scholar who is working with that professor, so that you can get an idea how this professor is, what is his working style, and you get good idea of the professor, and then you can make your mind. Also, they may suggest someone, recommend some other professor who can be more relevant to your work than, because sometimes it's not only about the published work, but the people also has a more like larger philosophy than just their published work. So you can also get more connections like that, or also the LinkedIn. So for example, you start following some good people in the LinkedIn, and someone posts, and that's like a smart way, I would say. So for example, you just follow some hashtag, and if you see, for example, if you find some interesting post, go to the reaction and the comments of that post, and from the reaction and comment, you can get an idea like what kind of thought process this individual have. And then you can just there are some people who get like like thousands of comments and the reactions, so you just go check out, and you can get like some less known people but who doing good work also. Or sometimes the some assistant professor or associate who do not have a lot of published work, but have a lot of things in pipeline, because it takes time to for the work to come in the public domain. So for example, if a paper comes out, it needs like at least a couple of years of work. So sometimes they post these things on the LinkedIn, and then you can also get a very good idea of about the people also, because if you just check out their profile, you get a really good idea of what kind of thought process this individual have. So uh, I mean, I would say like a backtracking from the LinkedIn profile or the post would be also a good option to identify your supervisors or the professor. Yeah.
So we have another question from Abhishek Yadav. He is asking that what are the scholarship available to do PhD in Amsterdam rather than NOS?
Uh, Another option is to go for the funded positions. That's the best option you got, because in funded position you are like an employee. Uh, Unfortunately, by my knowledge, there are few options that cover you the like 100%. So sometimes you get a funding. Uh, Sometimes some university can have some scholarships, but I don't particularly know how that works. But sometimes you can apply for fundings. For example, there are a lot of funding options. Mm, so you can get sometimes, like, but it don't cover like all your expenses. It covers, it's a like, like uh, 50,000 euro, or like 100,000 euro, or like 150,000 euro, that sort of funding you can get. But if you're looking for the scholarship, I would say, look for the funded position, and that's always good. For funded position, everyone can see the chat box, right? So for funded position, you can always refer to this website called Find My PhD. And what you can do is, so what this website does is it aggregates all the PhD vacancies across the world. So, so suppose if any university publishes any vacancy of the position, so they aggregate it on their website. So you can see they also have this option to go through departments wise, or the the research topic wise. Uh, mm, you can find the position, and then you can apply. Also, this is very useful. Uh, for example, if you refer to this website and you just go through research topic or the department, you also get an idea that what is the research direction is going in. For example, you see whenever they publish the advertisement, they also give the brief description of a project and project deliverables and these are basic things like that. So from that you also get an idea of uh, kind of research is going on in the field. So sometimes you can also get inspiration for your research questions. Also, to be more relevant, you can also get some inspiration that how you want to frame your research as a whole. And maybe, for example, if you want to talk about caste in India, but in Europe, certainly those who are working on the Indian subcontinent, they knows about this issue. But if you just put all the emphasis on the caste while writing to the European professor, he may not understand that. But if you put it in terms of inequality, injustice, and things like that, mobility, movement, so it may find more relevance, and you also get this vocabulary, as well as you also understand how you should put your research or how and the research direction you understand, and that will really help you. So basically, you have to be critical while applying whenever you refer any source or anything, and that's how you improve or improvise your proposal and application, I would say. Does that answer your question?
Yes. Now we have another question from Shanti Pal Sonane. So he's asking that what is scope in sustainable agricultural development in Netherlands?
I would say huge, or even I would say massive. So they're having this very interesting debate nowadays in here. So they're trying to limit agricultural practices because they believe that the agriculture is one of the biggest emitter of the methane. Agriculture and dairy. So there is a lot of research going on in this field, and this is also very important, especially given the fact that uh, India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh is really vulnerable to climate change, and almost like half of the population is dependent on the climate agriculture, or that we call it a primary sector. So I would say that it has a really good scope.
There's one more question from Sneha. She's asking, how do you manage your expenses right from applying to current living there? She's asking about overall expenses, how many monies you have spent on your overall education till now.
That's very personal question. How I manage my money?
No, it's on upon you. If you want to share, you can
No,
share, and
right,
otherwise
right.
you can skip it.
No. So it really depends. I mean, see, these questions, I would say first you get the admission and scholarship. Then once you are here, then you know where to spend your money and where you don't want to spend your money. But another thing is the expense thing is the expense that you're gonna occur before you join the uh, during the application process. So I would say, see, before the application process, the major expenses would be your usually European universities don't charge you for the application. Like, for example, if you apply to the US or Canadian or the other universities, you have to pay like certain amount of money, say 100 euro, 80 euro, not euro, there's the dollar things. Yeah. So yeah, so but European university don't have that one, so we don't have. But the major expense would be your like a ITS or the GRE, whatever exam that, like, say for example, roughly say 15,000. Then your visa, flight, yeah, and then your basic shopping, say 50,000 something. So I would say before you join, you need say around like 150,000, 1,50,000, and then you just carry some around like 1,000 euro something. Maybe if you got some means, then you can just carry 150,000. Sorry, not 1,000, like 1,500 euros. so that by any chance if you don't get scholarship on time, sometimes because initially it takes some time to get your scholarship because you have to get some bank account and uh, yeah, it takes some time. So it's better to carry like around 1500 to 1000 euro, not 2000 but at least 1000 1500. That's also, you can just make the calculations, I guess.
So we have a question from Sampath. He's asking, how
Yeah, I
can
can
I
read
start?
that one.
Okay.
How can I start prepare? Okay, I mean, so that's a tough one for me. As I already said, uh, see, depends how proficient are you in English. So if you think uh, now you have to, I mean, no one is going to do that assessment for you, but you have to do it by yourself. So what I can recommend you is uh, there are some websites. For example, even the British Council website. I think nowadays they do with the IDP. So they, if you're doing the IELTS, so they go to when you start your preparation. First thing you can do is you can take a test, computer-based test. I mean, test is like a sample test, not actual test. And you before that you can do some preparation. But if even if you don't do, that's all right. And what I would recommend you to do it like a rigorously, do it like a proper test. Sit in the room, sit for like 3.5 hours or whatever time they need, and then solve it and see how much score you get. So if you get, and say for example, you won't be getting obviously a score for the speaking, but whatever score you get. So for example, if you get 6, that means you're on the right track. I mean, your English is really good, not really good, but good. And then with you just need, then that means then you just need to understand the structure and prepare to uh, uh, accordingly. But if you say if you score really low, then that means you need some assistance, and depending on that, you can do like for example, there is this guy called on YouTube, um, Keith. I'll put the link. So I think I don't know what he does, but yeah. So you can. There are a lot of YouTube channels. Yeah, he does the speaking thing. So what you can do is, I'm putting the link of
This workshop, I am about to share with you the
link of his channel. So this guy is really good for the speaking. So he shows, he gives you an example. He does sample interviews. Hold on. Oh no, sorry. Oh no. Okay, I'll send this the link with Rahul because it looks like for the at the moment I cannot. Uh, yeah, so you refer to Keith for the speaking, and then I put the link for the Ran Higgins books, which is really, I think it's really good for the writing, and for other like for reading and all, you follow the official they call the guide or something. So you follow that one, I would say. It's all right. You don't have to apologize. I was just trying to make it light. No,
Okay.
you don't have to.
Anyone who has a question can type in a chat box or raise your hand. I will unmute you and then you can ask.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Meanwhile, you can write. She has a question. She says, like, which were the funding options you choose for your PhD? Yeah. So for my PhD, I'm taking the scholarship from Maharashtra government. So yeah. So basically, I'm on scholarship. Yeah. Do we have any other question?
No, till now we don't have any question. So आप लोग हैंड रेज कर सकते हैं, नहीं तो फिर चैट बॉक्स में टाइप कर
Yeah.
सकते हैं. तो हम आपको
I will be
अनम्यूट कर
happy to
देंगे.
answer if you have any questions.
यस. प्लीज हिंदी इंग्लिश जिसमें भी पूछना है पूछ सकते हैं आप.
हाँ
ऐसा
हाँ,
कोई
मुझे आपके
लैंग्वेज बैरियर नहीं है कि आपको इंग्लिश में ही
हिंदी
पूछना है.
हिंदी इंग्लिश मराठी सब आता है, मतलब सब, मतलब तीन
हाँ.
आते हैं। तो किसी में भी पूछ सकते हैं।
ओके. हाउ मेनी सुपरवाइजर्स हैव यू contacted? It's a question of
How many
Prasad.
supervisors have you
Okay.
contacted? Okay. I think I wrote to 4, 5, I guess. No, no, not 4, 5. More, I guess. Maybe 10, I guess. Maybe 10, yeah. So yeah, this is also important. Sorry, I forgot about that one. So it's not, sometime you may not get the response from the the professor that you approach. So you don't have to say, think, okay, I'm not getting response. Sometimes they are too busy, and also timing matters. For example, if you're writing in the summer that is here, that was from July, yeah, the entire July and August, there is more chances that you're not going to get the response. For example, if you write in December, forget the response. So you have to understand this timing also. So you don't write them during the Christmas vacations or the winter vacation, and you don't write during the summer vacations. What happens is, because these people don't touch their mail during the vacations, and that means whenever they come back, and by any chance if you wrote them, so that is, I think many of you gonna write in by the December. So I would recommend you to don't write in the December. You start writing after the from the third week of January. You don't write in the December or November, because what happens is they don't touch the mailbox. They don't do any office work, and when they are back, they got like at least thousands of mail, and they got more important things to do than you are reading your mail. So there's high possibility that they might ignore you, no matter how good your mail is, no matter how good your proposal is. But simply they don't have time, because that like when they back from the vacation, it takes at least 2 weeks for them. 2 weeks, that means like a 10 days. So they don't work on the weekends either. So, and don't write on the weekends, because they don't like getting mails on the weekends, right? And try to make write during their office hours and not yours. So whenever you write a mail, try to write in the morning. You can write early in the morning, because the first thing people does is go to office, check the mailbox and the calendar for the day. So but you don't never write in the vacations and on the weekends. Yeah. Yeah, this thing. Sorry, I forgot. Yeah. Supervisors, there's possibility that some people will write you back, some people won't. So you don't have to think, okay, they are not writing me. Maybe my mail is too bad. It's not like that. Sometimes they may not think you are relevant, and so they may not write back. So say, for example, 10% will write you back out of, say, 5% will show you the interest. Sometimes people just write back and say, hey, sorry, and I don't have the space, time, or sometimes they just say, okay, we can't at the moment. But sometimes, so say, take the 5% success rate to your mail. So you can write to hundreds of people, but make sure you do not write to more than one people in a department. So for example, if you're writing to one professor, you don't write to another department, even if you don't get response. Maybe you can try after 5, 6 months, but don't try it immediately. Like, I'll write all the professors in a department. Don't do that. They discuss. They also discuss with other PhDs. So they know, like, if your application is interesting, they talk. So you don't want to write. Yeah. Any other questions we got?
Anyone have any questions? So you can raise your hand or write in the chat box. हिंदी इंग्लिश किसी में भी आप लिख सकते हैं, आप पूछ सकते हैं. मराठी में भी पूछ सकते हैं. 3 लैंग्वेज का हमारे पास वो है कि आप तीनों लैंग्वेज में पूछ सकते हैं. तो
कोई और
विकास,
होगा तो ट्रांसलेट कर लेंगे हम, बोल।
हाँ ऐसा भी। सो
हाँ
कोई क्वेश्चन है तो अभी पूछ लीजिए आप लोग। तो विकास भाई तब तक ये पूछते हैं या फिर टाइप करते हैं, तो आप अपनी तरफ से कुछ, ओके संदीप है,
संदीप कोले समथिंग।
ओके संदीप यू कैन अनम्यूट एंड आस्क क्वेश्चन।
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir,
No, no sir.
my name is Sandeep. You can
Hi
hear me?
Sandeep. Yeah, Sandeep, I
Yes,
can
sir.
hear you. Hi.
Thank you, sir. I want to ask a question. Uh, how to
Yeah.
find the best in law college?
How to find the best law college?
Yeah, and scholarship also. Then how to eligible in scholarship and how
See,
to approach the
see, if you,
university.
so what you want to do? The question is, if you want to do PhD, you want to do masters.
Masters. So I want to do the masters. After PhD.
I would suggest just go to the QS ranking and just check the law ranking, and then you get the top 500 universities in the world, and then you can
Okay.
choose whatever you like.
And
Scholarship,
PhD and
same thing, man.
then
Uh, I mean, see, so
yes.
this is subjective.
Yeah.
How good is the university is subjective. It depends on you and your faculty or the professor that you're working with.
Yeah.
So, but there is no way to know if you're going to go along with your supervisor or the professor or not. So the good option that we can use is to go with the QS ranking and find they do all sort of analysis. They got their own criteria to give the ranking. So
Yeah.
you can just follow that one, I guess. And for the scholarship, it depends. So in the many of the master's program, they have usually university have a couple of fully funded scholarship, but you can only apply for that once you get the admission, I guess. Many times I know some people who got the full funding after for the masters and all, but that varies by the university. So every university can have the different number of scholarship, different procedure for the scholarship, different criteria. So you have to do that research by your own, I guess.
And one more question. Okay. Uh, I forget. Actually, I'm just forget the question. What I'm asking you.
No worries, take your time.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you later.
Now you can type, no worries. Whichever is convenient for you. Sneha has a question. So Sneha asks, can you share what are the other scholarship options like NOS, Maharashtra scholarship cover? As I said, so every university has some sort of scholarship for the individual programs and for the university. So it depends on the university that you are enrolled in. Another thing is there are like a funding options. I'll share the link with Rahul, where you can find various fundings. But you have to apply for that, and then they may have. So, for example, if you're going to US, they have this thing called a Fulbright. If you're going to Germany, they call it DAAD. If you go into UK, they have this thing called a Chevening scholarship. So there are options like that, but it depends on what you're doing, what your research topic is, and where you're getting your admission in. So it's really subjective, I would say. I'll share the link with Rahul. I think I got some list of some of them. I prepared while I was preparing my application. So I'll share with Rahul, and then he can share with all of you guys.
Yes, of course. So now anyone else have a question?
Anyone? The last question. Yeah, we're almost over and out of time.
यस, किसी का कोई सवाल है तो आप चैट बॉक्स में लिख
हाँ।
सकते हैं, नहीं तो फिर आप हैंड रेज कर सकते हैं। एंड संदीप, आपका अगर क्वेश्चन का आंसर मिल गया है तो आप हैंड डाउन कर सकते हैं।
Appreciate it.
So I think we don't have a question for now. So thank you, Vikas,
Yeah.
for coming and giving your
Yeah,
valuable
thank you
time to us.
Thank you for having me. And I wish you all the best to all of you who are planning to apply for masters or PhD. Yeah, and all the best. And more power to you. So, Jai Bhim, everyone. Have a nice evening.
एक क्वेश्चन है, आई थिंक।
Unfortunately, I don't think
ये
I
कौन सा
can
एग्जाम
comment on
इजी
that one.
होगा? आई थिंक आई डोंट।
No, नहीं, मुझे नहीं लगता कि मैं इसका जवाब दे पाऊंगा। मैंने कभी लॉ पढ़ा नहीं है खुद।
ओके,
तो मुझे नहीं आइडिया इस चीज का। So sorry for that one, man.
so okay, once again thank you, Vikas, for coming and giving your valuable time to us, and it was very wonderful session. So we will call
I
you
got a
again.
message. It says, yeah, sorry. It
Okay.
says there are some questions on YouTube. If I got a minute or two. Can you check what comments they have in the on the YouTube?
Okay, let me check.
Yeah. No.
1 minute. Huh?
You see? Any relevant question?
What is process, scope, financial issues, main scholarship that you earned all this? So they are asking about scholarship and process, how you applied and how you get an scholarship. What was the process? What are the documents you have
Scope
to
of
had to
financial issue.
submit it? You know.
Is like what procedures, scopes, financial issues, scholarship that you are on there.
And they also want to know about your journey from India to Amsterdam.
That's what we were talking the whole time. Huh?
Yes.
This thing, scholarship thing. I mean, not this question is not very clear to me. But see, so you get if you getting the scholarship from Maharashtra government or the NOS, so you basically get like a bare minimum that's not enough to live comfortably in Europe. So you can, and anyways, the PhD people can get some sort of a teaching job. Some they call in my university they call them a junior lecturer or something like that. So you can teach and you can get some additional money. So yeah, so that's how you can do. Apart from that, I think scholarship, then that's a different story altogether. So they do publish the advertisement and then you apply it, then you attach all the required documents and then you get a scholarship. Simple as that. Okay. So, okay, now I have to go. Thank you for having me. And yeah, once again, all the best for you guys. And I hope you would get, you will get the university that you're looking for and really good positions. And you can always get in touch with me on LinkedIn or LinkedIn. I mean, I usually don't use other platforms. So yeah, you can find me on the LinkedIn and you can write me. Yeah. Have a nice evening, guys. Jai Bhim.
Thank you, Vikas. Thank you once again, and for giving your valuable time. So,
Yeah, bye.
Bye bye.